Today, we're diving into something that is honestly a bit invisible, but absolutely fascinating. The psychological reality of growing up as both the eldest child and the only son. It's this unique role that completely shapes your identity, literally long before you even have the vocabulary to know what an identity is. We're going to unpack the science, the family dynamics, and the deep psychological impact of this position. Basically, we're using the data to make the invisible visible. Let's get into it.
Just think about this phrase for a second. There's a boy who was never really a boy. What does that actually mean? Well, from the very instant he was born, someone else was born too, right? The responsible one, the man of the house. He was handed this invisible weight, this massive set of profound family expectations before he could even talk. And he carried it so well for so long that everyone around him kinda just forgot it was ever heavy.
Section 1. The science of first, from early theories to modern data. So, to really get this, we have to rewind a bit and look at the foundational ideas of early 20th century Austrian psychiatrist Alfred Adler. Now, Adler wasn't actually a firstborn himself, he was the second of 6, but he was absolutely obsessed with how birth order shapes us, and he mapped out this incredibly poetic timeline. Step 1 is the kingdom of one. For months, or maybe even years, the firstborn gets the undivided attention, the hopes, and the anxiety of their parents. Then comes step 2, dethronement. A sibling arrives, and the king effectively loses his throne, which leads to step 3, the reclamation. Adler theorized that the firstborn spends the rest of their life trying to win back that throne through achievement and, ultimately, responsibility. It's a super captivating theory, but does it actually hold up today? Well, let's look at the hard data. See this number? 377,000. That is the massive number of American high schoolers analyzed in a landmark 2015 study by Damian and Roberts. You pair that with another huge study of 20,000 people out of the University of Leipzig by psychologist Rohrer, and researchers were finally able to put Adler's century-old theories to the ultimate scientific test.
And you know what? The honest, complicated truth from these massive studies busts a major myth right out of the gate. Broad personality traits, things like extroversion, emotional stability, openness, the differences there based on birth order are statistically meaningless. So no, your birth order doesn't dictate your personality. But here's the catch. Intelligence scores actually are consistently higher for firstborns. Why? Simply because of that early window of undivided parental attention that no sibling after them will ever replicate. So the big takeaway here is that birth order doesn't write your personality in stone. Instead, it assigns your family role. And over time, those roles become internalized as your identity.
Section 2. When first meets only son, inheriting a lineage. This collision of expectations brings us to an absolutely crucial concept in psychology called parentification. It happens when a child is placed, either emotionally or practically, into a caretaking role that rightfully belongs to an adult. In a lot of families, the only son doesn't just get a birth position, right? He inherits a whole lineage. He becomes the 11-year-old mediator of his parents' super complex adult arguments. Or he's the surrogate guardian told to look after his sisters while he himself is literally still afraid of the dark.
Frank Farley, a researcher at Temple University, has spent decades looking into this dynamic, and his work points to this stark reality, that watching feels like love, but it also feels like surveillance. Both things can absolutely be true in the same house. See, firstborn sons tend to become overachievers not because their brains are magically wired differently, but because someone was always watching them just a little more closely, always expecting a little more from them. Over time, that only son learns to equate his entire worth with his usefulness, because for him, usefulness was the very first language of love he ever learned.
Section 3. The parentified child syndrome, the wound and the gift.
In family systems therapy, they call this the parentified child syndrome. And let me tell you, it creates a wildly dual-edged psychological profile. On one hand, you're looking at high rates of anxiety, severe difficulty setting boundaries, and honestly, an absolute inability to just rest without feeling overwhelming guilt. But on the flip side, you see genuine, remarkable competence. You see natural leadership and extreme reliability. Being the responsible one isn't just a burden, it builds real earned strengths that propel these guys into stable careers and higher education. It's the exact same wound and the exact same gift growing from the exact same root.
But the hidden cost of having a strength built entirely on obligation, it's incredibly heavy. In therapy, the breakthrough moment often sounds like this: devastating confession of a lost self. I don't actually know what I want. I only know what's expected of me. Now, it's really vital to point out here, just as Adler did a century ago, that parents rarely intend to create this burden. None of this means his parents failed him. They were simply repeating the exact same survival patterns and expectations that they themselves once survived.
Section 4.
Putting the weight down, the process of recovery.
So how do we heal this? The healthiest version of recovery involves a concept psychologists call reparenting. It is the slow, deliberate practice of giving yourself, as an adult, the permission nobody gave you as a child. It means finally granting yourself the right to fail, the right to be tired, the right to need softness and care without the crushing fear that you're disappointing an entire family line. It is, essentially, the radical permission to be loved simply for existing, rather than for performing.
And this deeply internal shift, it rarely happens all at once. Actually, it usually happens in a quiet room, maybe in a 2 a.m. conversation with a partner who looks across the space and asks this beautifully simple question, "But what do you want?" And the man completely freezes. Why? Because no one has asked him that question in 20 years.
If you are that boy, now grown, now tired, but still somehow the one everybody calls first when something breaks, let's dismantle the illusion you've been carrying. You were never actually the strongest one. You were just the one who went first. And going first doesn't mean you have to go alone forever. That theoretical throne Adler talked about, you don't need to win it back. You were never meant to rule a throne. You were simply meant to be loved as a child, plainly and without conditions.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, quiet instruction. Put the weight down. Just for tonight. You are always allowed to. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this provided you with a new, empathetic lens to understand yourself or maybe someone you deeply care about. But it leaves us with one final question to ponder. If the weight you've been carrying was never really yours to begin with, well, who are you without it? Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.